Hi, I'm Jeanette, the Northbound Coach. I'm so glad that you've joined me as I continue my series on what to do after a layoff. And today we are going to switch our focus from kind of the immediate reactions to the layoff to now starting to think about, okay, what's next? Now, you may already have jumped ahead to this step or past this step, maybe is more what I want to say there. You may have jumped this step because it is normal that you, in your urgency upon receiving the layoff notice, may have jumped right into action and have, done a quick update of your resume, started searching for jobs, and started to apply for things. And that's normal. And it doesn't mean that you can't go back and pick up this step, because I think it's a really important step. And that is, before making any sorts of decisions, you need a criteria for how you're going to make a decision. First of all, backing up in time, a decision about whether you even want to apply for this particular position or pursue it at all. And then ultimately, criteria that will be useful when you are either making a decision for or against a particular job offer, or maybe needing to consider multiple offers and which one might be the best direction for you, if any of them are at all. And so I would offer that putting together your set of criteria for making that decision is a key step in this process. Now, I can almost hear you saying to me, if you're saying this to me right now, well, I don't need that. I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a job with a good salary and, certain sets of criteria, I'll know it when I see it. Or you may maybe coming at this from maybe more of a scarcity mindset, concerned about putting food on the table, keeping a roof over your head. And so it's just about finding a good enough job. All of those are perfectly valid places to come from, and a better position to be in, a more powerful position to be in, is to be thinking about it from a mindset of abundance, of the expectation of different sorts of opportunities out there, and the need to be able to, pick apart fairly complex sets of facts and circumstances to make the best decision for yourself. So what does this take? It's rather a simple process. So the first step is to brainstorm all of the different factors that are important to you in thinking about this next opportunity. Just a minute ago, I mentioned compensation. And for many of us, myself included, that's an important component of the decision-making process around a particular job. When we're mid-career and beyond, we have certain, even earlier in career, right? We have different needs around the money that we're bringing in to pay for rent or a mortgage or other expenses out there. And so we might have compensation as one of the most important components. So it's going to go on the list, and you're going to figure out, okay, what's the general range? What's the low point? What's my hoped for point? What's somewhere in between? It hits the list. What other criteria are you looking for? Well, probably these days we have options about how you go to work. So you might have some preferences around, I would prefer, 100% in-person job. I prefer 100% remote. I'd like something hybrid. I'd like, if it's either in-person or hybrid, where there is going to be some commute, I would like my commute to be, no longer than X number of minutes in the morning and the evening. I would like the company to be in a certain industry, or maybe I want to go for all nonprofits, or I want to be in an academic setting. Maybe there are internal culture and norm issues that are going to be on your criteria list, such as, how people feel in the team. What, do you want to be in a team that likes to do things out of the office together? Would you rather just get your own work done in a more singular manner? There's many different variations that can hit your criteria list. probably something around the manager relationship, opportunities for growth. The list goes on, right? And so sitting down ahead of time before you're even applying for any positions, and certainly before you're making decisions about them, to get that list set is a really important component, because once you have the particular opportunity in front of you, it's really harder to make sense of it, because there's lots of different information that you're taking in. It can be very complex. I think of it almost like the exercise that you would go through if you were going to go onto a car lot to purchase a car. If you don't come in prepared, you may fall in love with a particular vehicle that isn't within your budget. Maybe it has different things that are or are not important to you, and you could make a good decision there, but it's a harder process to get through. It's a more emotional process. If you have that criteria ahead of time, that makes it much more straightforward. So that's the idea here for your job search. If you put that criteria list together, that's going to be a whole lot easier when making a decision. Now, there's one additional step to this that I would argue is really a fundamental step and often gets missed. And that step is adding weighting or prioritization to the elements that are on your list. In other words, not everything on the list is of equal value, right? Some things are non-negotiable. Some things are nice to haves, and there are variations in between. Like some of the nice to haves might have more priority than other nice to haves, and some of the non-negotiables may be a little bit more negotiable than others. So setting up the criteria and then saying, okay, these are the most important ones. You can even put a mathematical weighting on them and assign points and do all of those details if you really want to make that a more scientific approach to it. But the point is to have done the thinking ahead of time. And then when you're considering your options, to then be able to insert your option on top of the criteria and make the best decision. Again, keeping in mind that this is from the mindset of abundance, and that there are going to be a number of different opportunities out there, rather than rushing to, well, whatever comes in, if it's good enough, I'll take it. This is a much more powerful and proactive step that you deserve as a candidate in this process. All right, that's it for this week. If you'd like to spend a little bit of one-on-one time on my dime, not yours, I'm happy to do that and offer you a free time of one-on-one strategy setting for your career. I'll put the link to sign up in the description box. Next week, we'll be back with, or I'll be back with another video on the layoff series, and we are going to continue to pursue this idea of moving through this process for important elements that you want to have in place. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.